Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to our next class. In fact, we're in a new chapter, aren't we? And this is going to be a simple chapter in which we'll create a blueprint for a record player. Okay, and we'll put it just down here. For those who know this scene, you might recognize the area here that's normally occupied by this record player with the ability to play those vintage vinyl records. Well, that's exactly what we're going to put together, and we're going to make it work. Okay. It's a simple blueprint that we'll create with some animations, and then it will just show us how the record can start spinning around. The needle will move into position and it will play the music. Okay. So there are some more level of higher level of complexity to this one, but we'll get it all working. Okay. We'll do it together and hopefully you'll be able to follow it closely too. So we're going to create it from scratch, and this is what we need to do. Create an actor, a blueprint actor. There we go. And it'll be quicker because a lot of the things we do here we've done before. So I'm not going to obviously having to explain everything as we go along. So there we go. There's our blueprint. We've named it play record. And now we're in here with the viewport that we're familiar with. All I need to do is add static mesh, and then that will allow a place for our model to occupy. So let's do that now. Let's create it and call it a turntable. Let's rename it to turntable, which is the base that rotates the record, right? So there we go. And now we need to add an event, create an arm to that as well. So there we go. So there's a static mesh for the arm and a mesh for the record player. I'll name it audio player. Cool. I've added all three of these now. So we've got all three static meshes here, and I'll add them. Let's check the content browser, and then we can start putting the meshes in, and you can see they just come into place here. There we go. There's our record player. I'll add the arm now. Let's go and get that. That's going to go in here. So let's find the arm. There we go. Let's drag it there. And we need the record itself, or the vinyl itself. Okay. Let's just go and get that. There it is. And plug it in. Cool. So now it's all in here. They've come under the corresponding pivots that was already set up. So now we can place them in the center. Just line them up. Nice. And the arm's going to go up here as well. It's going to be on the base. Nice. And we just place it in position. And just check it. It's about here. There we go, in the center of that. Let's just check it fits as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Maybe it should be a bit taller. Okay, so let's just adjust this a bit. Maybe there, a bit higher up. Cool. So there we go. We've got our record player now with the three static mesh elements that make up the model itself. Now, we need to create the interactions next, don't we? So we need to think, well, what's going to happen when the character gets close to it, or when the character clicks on it? Well, we can use our interaction interface here so that the record can then start spinning when we click on the player. And then this part here could go up as well. It can move up on its axis, and it could, just suggest that it's starting to play the record, right? So we need to be moving it on its axis into position. Okay. Nice. So let's think about this. So we're going to be moving that up into position to play, and then down, then it will play the record. So that's the movement it's making. It's going to firstly go up, rotate, and then come down to start playing the music. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. We'll explore the motion timing of our blueprint as well. And this should be a little lower to rest on this piece actually. So let's do this. Let's go to the event graph as well. Nice. So for our begin play, we won't be using any of this. first we need to create or think about the when. So when will this happen? It's going to happen when our first person clicks on the blueprint. Okay. So when it identifies the blueprint and clicks. So we get our class here, enable blueprint interface, get that connection going. And I'm going to enable the same interface as we did before. So now we just need to get interact here, and that's going to then open up when we click on it. And now we're going to create separate blueprints here. This is slightly different, but the principles that we've learned so far will be the same. Okay. So first we need to create a turntable interaction for our record to rotate, and then the arm, so that they're actually separate, aren't they? So when I click, it's then going to start showing more than one action. Okay. More than one thing's going to be happening at the same time. So we'll create a sequence here, just so we can set up the record rotation here as well, and the motion of the arm too. We'll keep it a bit more organized this way too. So when I click on the record, it's going to turn it on. When I click again, we want it to turn off. So I'll need to have a flip-flop to have those two different positions, the position of on and the position of off. Cool. Okay, so let's think about this. We need to have a timeline, don't we? Because we're going to be working with time, and then we'll make the record rotate, and this will be rotating indefinitely. It's not going to stop, so we could probably put that on a loop. Okay, so what can we do? Well, we can create a timeline to represent this motion. So let's do that now. Let's pull out from here and create a timeline, and we'll call it turn. Nice. So that's going to be for the rotation, and I need to create a float type event in here, don't I? So let's open it up. Rotation, which is the object rotation, right? There we go. That's a good name, rotation. And then let's set this up. For this, we need to have, let's think about this. We need to have it just rotating on its axis. So there isn't really much to do here, is there? I'll set this up for a time of 1 second, which is how long we want the motion to last. Then I need to create a variable. So we just create a keyframe there and put that time in there. So we get another one at the end, and the time for 1 second. Okay, so that's going to do that. We can start to increase and decrease the acceleration with using the auto feature on these keyframes. If you want to, you can do that. It's just a very subtle animation. You probably won't actually notice it, to be honest. But it could start going slowly, and then it could start to speed up if you wanted to. But I'll just leave the straight line for now, so it's on the constant speed. Okay, so let's progress. We got our timeline in. Now I need to make a multiplication here. So since we're working with a timeline from 0 to 1, we need this, and I'm going to multiply it by a variable. So I promote to variable. I've got a float type here that I've created. Let's name it rotation disk, or Portuguese rotation disco. Okay, so that's the rotation of the vinyl. So we have the record rotating there attached to the multiplier. Cool. So now we'll use that node that we've learned right in the beginning. Do you remember this this famous node, set relative rotation? That's what we need. Okay, and I can use the mesh here that I chose, which would be the turntable one. So that's all added in. Cool. And next I'll split this because it will only be rotating on the Z axis rather than all of them. So that's cool. And I just need to click the mesh here at the beginning. It's then going to turn on, and it's going to do the sequence of the animation rotating. And that for the rotation, I need to set a variable as well, actually, don't I? Here we go, value here. 360 degrees is what we'll do. That's the rotation. And then it's going to multiply here, going from 0 to 360. And on the turntable, it's set to a relative. And let's add it into our scene. So let's place it in position here. We just move it a little bit closer to the back as well, actually, just so it's not falling off the edge. Okay, cool. So it's in position now. Let's push play and we'll have a look at what happens. Here we go. Okay, so here it is down here. Let's point to it. Now, if I click, you see that? So it's starting to rotate. I clicked once and the rotation stopped, didn't it? And I want it to spin all the time, indefinitely. So I didn't ask it to stop, so it should technically still be on. So what we need to do is we need to do a bit more work on this. So we know it rotates, that's good. Let's go on to our timeline. And what I should be able to do now is I should be able to add the ability for it not to stop. So it's going to move this way and I want it to move indefinitely. So I just need to click up here, loop. Do you remember we looked at that before? So when I do it, it's going to go this way once and then it's going to just repeat and repeat and repeat. It'll go from 0 to 1 and then back to 0. Since it's a 360-degree spin, it will do that indefinitely. Okay? Awesome. So that's a nice example of how we can use the loop in our timeline. Let's see that again then. Let's click on it. There we go. See it rotating? Nice. Now, in case you want to change the speed, maybe you want it to go a little bit faster, then you can do that down in here. So you see this icon here? This means that the loop is on. Okay, so that's a nice little pointer there. But if we want it to rotate slower, we can set this to a time of 2 seconds and vice versa. If we want it to be quicker, we could make it less time. Let's push play again and see what we think. This is 2 seconds instead of 1. What do you think? Now, I'm not sure what the exact rotation speed should be, but if you wanted it to be adjustable, or you wanted to adjust the speed, then that's where you would adjust it. Cool. So compile and save. Now we just need to enable the stopping command, don't we? Just so we are able to control the record player properly. And that's going to come out of B because we've already got what it should do when it's on. So B, we can put here for stop, and that's going to stop the timeline, right? So before we use reverse, but we don't need to do that. We just need to stop it, don't we? We don't want it to go in the opposite direction. Great, let's check this out. And let's click on it. And it's rotating. If I click it again, it stops. So then you can see that it goes back exactly to where it was. Okay? So it doesn't just go back to its initial position. Because we're using stop, it works really well for this type of animation. We could do play from the start if we wanted to, and this is what would happen. I'll rotate it. Then if I press stop, it stops, and then it goes back. Okay, did you see that? Notice that it's a kind of jolt, stops, and then see, it goes back. And that's not really what we want. That's not how record players work, is it? They just stop where we ask them to stop. So that's a good example of using that feature in the timeline node. So our turntable is done. Our record is rotating perfectly. Now I can comment on this. So let's just highlight this section and press C and add a comment. I could call it turntable rotation. Just keep things organized as always. Nice. Okay, so that's great. Perfect. In the next class, we'll animate the arm.